My name is Agnes Ananichuk. I am a practicing artist. I've been doing art for 18 years as in terms of my main endeavor. I've come at it at this end of my life versus at the beginning of a career. I had another career which I left and went to art school for 3 years. And I graduated in 2000. And since then I've been doing my practice of art. Coming at art at this end, I do collage and printmaking. And this show is it has both. But the collage in particular, I do collage because I'm afraid of a paintbrush. Painting, and when you take those tools, they're incredibly high expectations of what you should be able to produce. And I had never painted, period. I mean, I played at arts and crafts through my life because I liked the creative process. So collage drew me because nobody has expectations. You can do anything you want. And it comes out most amazingly well. Where if you paint, yeah, I just find it it was much more of an intimidating process. And to make paint work, you really have to work at it. There's layering and, many layers and many applications and the blending. And to make paint work is a lot of work. And it wasn't what interested me. I was sort of like the paint by numbers. You fill in the space. To me, art is about dividing space and filling it. Or the continual division of space. And so I was drawn to this because there are no expectations. I guess I felt I wouldn't be as harshly judged doing this as I would doing the other. But there's something about paper that I like. Even from art school, doing design work, or you do a project and you have this blank piece of paper, and all of a sudden something would emerge from it. It seemed to give me a gift. So I gravitated to paper and the use of paper and have carried on from that time. So these particular, and the other thing that I've come to realize, I wanted to show this work, because it's a body of work. And it is also the use of juxtaposition, two competing ideas. The show is called The Line Between. And so when you put one piece against the other, they're butting, and there's a line there. The line is as much a part of the art as the pieces themselves. And when I was trying to write about what have I done here, what is it, I had an earth-shattering aha moment for me. I came to realize how much I use the concept of a juxtaposition, two ideas competing with one another, sort of almost in balance. And then I thought about my own upbringing. And I was in a household in a family where my parents argued. And there was always this two different views always butting together in terms of verbally them competing and you were the person caught in the middle between these two major characters in your life. And so I finally came to realize that where I thought my art came from an intellectual place, it's actually seeping out from my emotional side, which was I was quite thunderstruck when I came to realize it because of putting this show together. That, yeah, there is something emerging there where I never thought it would ever happen. And so it's more of, it's being true to myself, I guess, and having this come out the way it's coming out, and that I use always, so much of this two competing concepts or ideas. So this is the body of work, or that I've chosen that reflects that. I particularly like doing I like both my printmaking and the photo collage, but the photo collages in particular, again, two ideas, competing ideas, in balance, because I'm using sort of an equal amount of space and pieces from two different perspectives. I take all the photographs that I use. I will have them printed in an 8x12 format. And then, so when I have the idea of the theme I want to work on, I then go and search for photographs I may have that relate to that, and if I don't, I go out and take those photographs that I think will work, and then work with those. I start with an acid-free piece of mat board. I've predetermined the size, and then I will lay out a rectangle. I then divide that rectangle into spaces. I usually, and then within the spaces we'll create other spaces. Like I said, I keep dividing spaces and filling them. Anyway, so sometimes there are arches or circles. But fundamentally, there's some kind of a grid line, and you can see that where my starting point. You can see what my basic lines were that I then proceeded to use the photographs. And again, because I'm trying to alternate the photographs together to fill that space, and they're usually of equal size, and each photo seems to peek out. So there's a balance and equality between the two positions. I don't tend to be taking a position, but I'm raising awareness of the push and pull between those two positions, that line. So that's what I've done in these pieces of work. A lot of it relates to our environment, to how we treat our environment, or how we ignore our environment. Or just the competition within. I mean, even like this is, our Victoria used to have an industrial kind of background. There used to be industry here, etc. And that is being encroached with the building of large buildings, of condominiums. We're gentrifying those areas where they were once part of our economic base, a very vital part of the community that made Victoria what it was, or that makes any city what it is. And we push them further away, and we take over that land that had been allocated to being an economic base. So that it's various kinds of butting against and the push and pull between these two things. And so environment, the other thing that I've become increasingly concerned about is our focus on our electronic devices. And with the, we're so absorbed in looking at downward that we miss what's around us. I've watched people walk by, and there's something interesting going on or to be seen, and they don't see it because their focus is here. It's not around the, so what are we missing in our lives when we put so much attention on this stuff than on the world around us, the people around us. So I have several more in mind around that theme, and also in terms of our own spiritual selves. I'm not a religious person any longer, but I think I have a bit of a spiritual side. And so, just in our pose and our posture with these devices, it's like being in church and praying, or just in our posture, it's almost a spiritual kind of thing. And yet, is it spiritual? Does it enlighten us? Those are those would be my questions. But that's for future work. But I started with that one down there at the end. Starts with how much we're focusing upon our electronics, on our man-made items versus the world around us, the nature around us. So the prints also reflect similar kinds of juxtaposition, you know, a map of the world with a footprint on top of it. You know, what's our impact on this world? Our language, the binary code rules our world. And if we lose our knowledge of the written word and how to read that written word, and we're operating on, you know, we lose. I keep wanting, I have a piece that I call the contemporary Rosetta Stone, because that had a big impact when I heard about, or was taught about the Rosetta Stone and what it did in our knowledge of the world before us, or the worlds before us. And think about our own world. If we lose our knowledge of our own written language, I'm leaving the clues between the, you know, what rules our electronic world, what rules our world, you know, in terms of giving them the keys to finding out about us, hopefully in some future generation. Or the same thing, you know, we've come so far. I guess I'm old enough where literacy, remember, my parents never learned to read or write English. And so us, the kids, translated for them. But now I've noticed that as opposed to the written word, our world is also being dominated by a pictorial world. We're moving back to the equivalent of a pictorial language, a universal, so we understand these symbols. So you walk through an airport, you got arrows, you got symbols for washrooms, you know, people, regardless of where they're from, will know what services are there. Well, are we losing our literacy through these various mechanisms, even with our handheld devices, and people are using emojis as opposed to words? So are we losing something? Are we losing our ability to access this incredible wealth of knowledge because it's written versus it has, you know, we don't have symbols for all those words and their meanings, but so it's an interesting, I mean, it's a juxtaposition, it's a push and pull and on us, as you know, within a society. As I said, for this show in particular, I realized how much this juxtaposition plays in my work and how much I've used it in my work. And so, and I think that I will carry on doing that. And I certainly have plans, obviously, for other pieces to come, but what more can I say? The tools of my trade are here, you know, lying in this window, you know, from photographs to the kinds of cutting tools, basic X-Acto knives, a rotary cutter, brushes for gluing, plus coating the works, and because I work so much with straight lines, rulers, and blades. I also do rip and tear, but those are different kinds of work in terms of rice papers or washi papers, or magazines. But I like straight lines, I like the cutting, I like the gluing. There's something satisfying. I will admit, I like what I do. I like my own work, which is, I think I like the fact that they play with a viewer's mind, you know, by alternating the pieces and hopefully keeping them in sequence so you can see each part of the photo in its own right. But it plays with your mind, it draws your attention, and hopefully it draws it around the whole surface so that you are, as a viewer, one is taken there and their attention is kept. Mm-hmm. I like art that engages the mind personally, or personally like art that gives me a poke and says, or tongue-in-cheek humor. So another message there for me to think about, to dwell upon, and hopefully that's what I am also trying to do in my work, and hopefully that I achieve that in this work. I don't know. My intent. But I have a good time. I like doing it. I love doing it. The longest job I've ever kept. Doesn't pay as well, but hey. It is the longest job I've ever kept. Where through my whole work history, a job, stay in a job 3 to 4 years and move on, do something else. I always had interesting work, stimulating work, not satisfying, but definitely interesting. So I kept moving, and this is surprising me. You know, for 18 years now I've been doing this. So I guess it's what I was meant to do, failed to recognize earlier on.